There were three musicians playing with Neil. I think I said there were only two, and that three was the total. But there was Neil plus Ben Keith, Rick Rosas, Ralph Molina, except on Ordinary People, where there was a whole bunch of horns and other stuff. And there's always backing vocalists on some of these, but those were the core musicians, because I make a mistake later in the video. All right, on to the video. What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into Neil Young's studio catalog. And today I got Chrome Dreams 2, the second of the Chrome Dreams album to be released. The first, which was recorded in the late 70s, would not be released until after this. I'm honestly not really sure why it's titled Chrome Dreams, to be honest with you, other than to kind of make that connection to an earlier, never before released album. This is not particularly a thematic album. It's not a protest album. It's not a country album. It's not a soul album. It's not a musical novel. It really kind of feels a little bit of freedom. I think calling this Freedom 2 would have made more sense than calling it Chrome Dreams 2. One of the songs on here was originally recorded for Freedom, but not released, played live back in the day a couple of times. Finally, we get it released here. A couple other songs are from that era, but have new recordings. One was from as early as 85. The other one came from 1988, 89, around the Freedom era. That's the first three tracks. So it's like he's clearing the warehouse. And then the rest of the stuff, I believe, is contemporary to 2007. It's a little bit all over the map. We get some sort of garage rock stompers. We get some crazy horse type indulgent things. We get the overuse of horns. We get an 18-minute track. We get a 14.5-minute track. We get moments where you're just like, you can imagine someone going, so you're going to do what? And Neil's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah. Why not? Where Neil's just being unapologetically Neil, which is a beautiful thing. But I love this album. I think this is a fantastic album. This is like going to a restaurant and like you don't know what dish to get, so you ask for like a sampler plate and they bring you a little bit of sample of everything and you're like, yeah, this is all just really delicious. And maybe there's a couple pieces that they give you more of, and so you get to indulge in those. You're like, can you just give me extra onion rings, please? And so you have an overabundance of onion rings, but it's okay. Yeah, this is that kind of album. I just think it's a great fun. It doesn't sort of challenge you in the way maybe Living with War and the very specific sort of electric protest energy where you're not connected to a specific time and place that may trigger you in weird ways. It doesn't have that commitment to one musical style like the Booker T album from earlier on. It's a lot of really good flavors. I think every song, it's just like Neil, a bass player, a drummer. I think that's it. I think there's like three pieces, but there's a lot of different instruments that Neil's playing to contribute to the sound of any given piece. The piece that was recorded back for Freedom has a whole bunch of musicians on it. There's background singers on some of these tracks. But that 18-minute piece has a whole bunch of horns and different instruments that come in. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic listen. Opens up with a song called Beautiful Bluebird, which has really, really strong Sail Away vibes. It sounds like Sail Away. I keep wanting to sing Sail Away. I want to go back and listen to Sail Away. I think it's a really strong opening number because it serves that sort of Neil purpose of like, doesn't really give anything away. You kind of have no idea what's going to follow. Maybe it's going to be sort of a country or acoustic-y folky album because that's the vibe of the opening song. But then you're like, oh no, it's not going to be that. But it's just a really nice welcome. Come in. We got this nice, kind of upbeat, kind of positive, kind of a familiar melody. It's a strong opening. I like it. First time I heard this album, I remember thinking, oh, we got a country folk album. Kind of bummed. And then we go on through the album. I'm like, oh, now I really like that opening more than I did the first time. When I know what's going to follow, I appreciate the opening much more. I think it sets up the album perfectly. And this dates back from 85, Beautiful Bluebird. Next, we have Boxcar, which is from the Freedom era. I don't know if it was recorded and then they re-recorded it, but it was written back then, possibly recorded and just never released. But it has this... one of the lyrics is literally, I ride a boxcar It has this sort of riding the train, banjo vibe, kind of gritty, like you're living on these trains. The rhythm with the, I don't know if it's a snare, I don't know if he's hitting a snare, but whatever he's hitting, that downbeat that comes, it's almost like you're sitting at the train tracks watching a train go by, not at the highest speed, but maybe like a medium speed. And every time you see that gap between the cars, it's like it's just got this forward motion going with these regular brakes that feel like box cars going in front of you. Absolutely, it's a fantastic, kind of gritty, but also kind of low key, kind of just simmering energy, but not too over the top. Works great. I think it's an absolutely great second song. And neither one of these songs really prepares you for the third song, but I think they lead into the third song perfectly. Because when the third song shows up, when it arrives, when it drops, it just sounds huge. It's the 18 plus minute Ordinary People. 9 verses, and this is the entire song for 18 minutes. We get a verse, we get these kind of fluid choruses where the chorus, it feels like a chorus, but the words are kind of different every time. And then we get like this extended instrumental section where there's guitar solos, there's a sax solo, there's a trumpet solo at one point. Sometimes Neil brings it down a little bit. Sometimes he brings it up a little bit. But that's it. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this song for 18 minutes. I got 9 verses. Every verse is pretty much going to be the same. And then the chorus, and then we're going to jam. We're just going to do that a bunch of times. Oh, there's going to be like this bridge. No bridges. You'll like pick up no, we're not going to pick up the tempo. Well, what are you going to do to change it up? Yeah, nothing really. Not going to. Or at least that's how it sounds like the first time you hear it. And then the more you listen to it, you realize, oh, in that verse, like the guitar dropped out and the bass is kind of driving it. Oh, in that verse, the guitar's doing these cool licks. Oh, in that verse, feels like the drummer's like being given a little more. You really start to hear like the differences the more you hear this. And I remember like the first time I listened to it, I was completely enthralled the entire time. And then the second or third time, I was like, I know it's not going to change. Like nothing's going to change. The eyebrows are different in each verse and like the little things they're doing. But I would listen to the first verse and be engaged. And then I get to the second and third verse. Okay, I got 6 more verses, right? And then I get to 7 or 8. I'm like, oh man, now I only got 2 more. What? We're running out of time. Even though they kind of don't go anywhere at all musically over the course of the 18 minutes, it just draws you in. And the lyrics are fantastic. It's really like a bunch of Raymond Carver short stories about ordinary people trying to live through life, maybe beating the system, maybe being worked by the system. But it's like a bunch of Elmore Leonard stories, like the short Elmore Leonard stories where everybody's got an angle and everybody's playing an angle, but our ordinary people are maybe coming out on top more often than not. I think it's an absolutely fascinating listen that has that sort of gimmick of being an 18-minute song that really never does anything but just tell the same stories. You know, it's like story after story after story after story. Some great lines. He repeats this line in the chorus, the patch of ground people, the ordinary people, the patch of ground people. Love that phrase. It could be positive, it could be negative. Either way, love it. But it has this gimmicky feeling where it's like 18 minutes, right? He's just swinging for the fences, but it works. It doesn't work if it's the first song. I think the first 2 songs need to be there to set it up. It doesn't work if it's the last song because it's easy to just then quit early. It's the third song. It's committed. I think it's just, it's a marvelous, marvelous piece of music. Next is Shining Light, which brings it down. Very calmly positive, soothing strumming, very chill, almost has like a Righteous Brothers vibe in the melody. It works really well after just almost the sensory overload. There's horns galore in Ordinary People. There's this, I'm going to really just put everything on the back of this truck and hope the truck doesn't collapse type vibe to Ordinary People. And then Shining Light's like, all right, we've emptied the truck. Now let's drive off calmly into the distance. Then we get The Believer, which is kind of a lighter, sparser, bouncier, sort of acoustic, fun country folk vibe. I Have Faith in You, very positive lyrics. Really nice kind of backing vocals. The backing vocals remind me of when I was a kid, we used to travel with my grandparents around the country every summer for like 6 weeks. And we would go to these campgrounds, KOAs around the United States. And this is in the 70s. And there'd be like local bands would play at these campgrounds. And they'd be like, hey, you're here on a Friday night, this local country group's going to play. And there were always these instances where I remember a couple bands where there'd be like 3 male backing singers just doing these what sound like 50s Disney movie backing vocals, just like happy Western type things. That's kind of the backing vocals on The Believer. Then we get Spirit Road, which is your heavy, grunge, neo guitar energy. Nice distorted sound. Feels like this could be on Mirrorball. Feels like it's got great driving down the middle of a road energy. And it's kind of about people who are like lost in life, trying to get back to that peaceful place where they have comfort, maybe trying to get back home. But life's not letting you just get back to that place. And so it's like keeps cutting you down and you're just trying to get back on your spirit road and live life the way you want it. But you're just always kind of prevented from doing that. There's this really nice loosey jammy energy, some really nice bounce to the bass that just kind of, there's a crazy horse aggression to the song, and the bass player kind of just lifts it a little bit in a weird way. The bass energy is just really kind of popping and really kind of good. Lots of guitar in here, 6.5 minutes, super guitar indulgent. Fantastic, fantastic piece, and works really well with Ordinary People, 2 calmer songs, and then we have this. Next is Dirty Old Man, which is this really sloppy, aggressive garage rock stomper. This could have been on Reactor, would have fit perfectly on Reactor. We get Ever After, which is this kind of slow, woozy pedal steel country. It also kind of reminds me of Shining Light. And I think if Ever After had been after Ordinary People, I would maybe enjoy this song a little better and maybe not Shining Light as much. And I think Shining Light comes across as a more effective song because of its placement. Ever After, we don't quite need this moment of peace after Spirit Road and Dirty Old Man, but it's not a bad song. I just think it's one of the filler tracks on here. Then we get the absolutely amazing No Hidden Path. Heavy, grungy, plodding, electric. The energy of the music is like, there's no path in front of me, no hidden path, so I'm just going to forge my own musically, just like, let me go. There's a little, I think it's a bridge, a vocal bridge. I don't think it's the chorus, but there's this, maybe it's not even vocals, maybe it's just an instrumental section, right? That has this almost, there's vocals, this new wavy, like psych element, almost like psych bands, maybe like the Manchester psych of like the late 80s, that kind of weird, almost fluidy psych vibe that kind of seeps in little portions of this that are really cool and really interesting. Nice long instrumental stretches in here that Neil can just solo and play around with. There's feedback, there's grunge, there's just noise. There's this nice refrain of lyrics that just get repeated and repeated and repeated that gives it this really nice hypnotic edge. And then it feels like as the song gets more aggressive towards the end, the rhythm section is slowing down, like the tempo is starting to drag. And I don't know if I'm imagining that, but that's the way it always feels. But it's really effective and it really works. 14.5 minutes, absolutely glorious, glorious, indulgent number. This album is like 65 minutes long, and if you take off Ordinary People and No Hidden Path, it's like 32 minutes long. Like those 2 songs are literally half the album. One of them is the 3rd track, the other is the penultimate track. Excellent sequencing. And then the last song is on piano. It's called The Way. It starts off with this nice little piano intro, almost has a Carole King-y type vibe. But then we get this weird female voices that give it this almost trippy modern day retro musical that knows, like, if like Zooey Deschanel were to write a musical and make it kind of trippy and psyche, but also make it kind of Carole King-y folky. It's this weird element that really feels out of place on the album. And if it had been any place other than The Way, it would feel more out of place. I mean, if it had been any place other than Last, it would feel more out of place. But because it's Last, it kind of works. There's a weird indie vibe to this song that just doesn't sound Neil-y, sounds too almost cutesy, artsy, piano-y. But because it's last and because it's on this album that is an 18-minute track that goes nowhere and then a 14-minute track that's just guitar noise essentially, not essentially, there's more to it than that. It works. It just manages to work. I love this album. I think the more I listen to it, the more I like it. Neil doesn't seem to have an ulterior motive. There doesn't seem to be an agenda. It just feels like Neil had a bunch of songs. There's a happiness to this. There's a positive vibe to a lot of these as far as like wanting to have faith in somebody, wanting to believe in somebody, lifting up ordinary people and praising them. That there's no hidden path. Show me the way. Where do I go? Like there's this positive outreach, let's work together and be together vibe that kind of undermines this. Absolutely fantastic, amazing album. Yeah, I think this is the best thing, maybe not the best thing, but it's definitely one of the best things he's done in the 21st century. I am going to rank the songs, and then I'll show you where I rank the album. But the songs, I'm bringing up my list, are there, right there. The two long songs are my favorite. I'm a sucker for anything that's super long and indulgent. So we have the 18-minute song at number 1, the 14-minute song at number 2, Spirit Road, another one of the more aggressive ones, Boxcar, that banjo, kind of gritty, riding the boxcar vibe, Beautiful Bluebird, those opening tracks. So like 3 of the top 5 are songs that were written in the 80s. So maybe there's something said there. Dirty Old Man, that garage rocker, The Believer. The Way is just too weird of a song. Like, I just don't know if it works, but because it's last, it kind of does. But yeah, that's where I would rank the songs. Where would I rank the album? Well, guess what, people? It's not in the bottom 20. It's in the top 20, which means Reactor finding itself at 21 kind of breaks my heart. I wanted Reactor to kind of stay in the top 20, but I do pull this out more often than I pull out Reactor at this point in time, I have to admit. And so that's what the list looks like. After the Gold Rush is still safe at number 10, but we have this down at 18. When I did my mock-up of this list prior to doing the debut album, I had Chrome Dreams above Living with War. I had Living with War a little further down the list and farther. And I decided upon listening to it, revisiting it the past week, Living with War is a much better album than I remember. I think I've always just slotted it in this sort of, it so belongs to 2006 and it's so anti-Bush that it's only interesting as a relic of that age. But re-listening to it, I think it stands up now, decades later, though. Things haven't changed, unfortunately, here in the United States, and they may be worse. But I do think Living with War is more consistent from start to finish. But Chrome Dreams, a heck of a good album. And to be 18 on a Neil Young list, like you're proud of that. You're holding your head up high. Like shine that bumper. Get that chrome to really shine. But yeah, Chrome Dreams too, man. That is easily all the way back there. Or all the way up there. And number 18. All right. That is all I got for now. Thank you very much for watching. Let me your thoughts on this album, all that kind of stuff. You know how these comments work. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Next Friday, I will move on with this Neil Young deep dive. And maybe drop another Neil one over the course of the week. Something I haven't done. Dig back into the archives that have been released. But I think I've almost got most of them. Maybe a couple live 70s show I still haven't hit. Maybe we'll get those this week. But that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.